Wooden base. Pine base. Wooden base. Pine base. And it gets your face like warmed up.
Super serious.
Where nothing fun or funny ever happens.
This is a super serious thing.
I don't even like dogs.
Super serious.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Super Serious Dog Podcast with me and Courtney.
Me.
And by me, I mean Misia.
And by me, I mean Courtney.
By she means Courtney.
All right.
So you want to hear a fun thing that happened to me today?
Yeah, I love hearing fun things that happen to you.
I got bit by a dog.
Oh, shit. That's not fun.
No, it's not fun at all. I was being totally sarcastic. Those of you that can't see the video, it's like a tiny little nick on my forearm. I washed it out. It's fine. I'm not proud of it. I know there are some trainers that think getting bit is a badge of honor. I don't feel that way at all. Not even a little bit.
It's almost always a learning experience.
It is always a learning experience. Always. So basically, long story short, I got a call from this girl, and she has a 7-month-old puppy that she's had since it was a puppy, since it was teeny tiny. And he clearly has like these, he's very smart. He's learned a bunch of tricks, sit and shake and roll over and all the fun stuff. But she's struggling with like more behavioral problems, like jumping on people, nipping at people's ankles, and resource guarding. And usually when you get a call like that from a 7-month-old puppy, there's usually not a lot of intent behind it. The dog's just sort of like, has a little bit too much freedom. And maybe it does guard like one thing very, very specifically a lot because, it really likes bones or something. Or maybe the person was trying to prevent resource guarding by putting their food in the hand bowl and they created the problem.
Hand in the food bowl.
Right. Or food in the hand bowl. Is that what I said?
Yeah. Just in case our listeners got confused for a second, she meant hand in the food bowl, which don't do that, by the way. Do you want to talk about why you don't put your hand in the food bowl, Misia?
Because it creates unnecessary conflict. You're trying to prove to your dog that you're not going to be an asshole by being an asshole, and it just doesn't really come across.
And expecting your dog to not be an asshole back. And you're basically setting that's the tone of the relationship is I will be an asshole and you're not allowed to be an asshole back. Which is that's an unhealthy relationship, right? Just like if you look the term relationship, like nobody wants to be in that one on either side of it. You don't want to be the asshole that's an asshole, and you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. And so your dog's probably not going to enjoy that. So yeah, you're going to create unnecessary conflict there. And I only stress on this point because I do frequently hear people say, well, when he was a puppy, we stuck our hands in his bowl and everything, and he's totally great. He doesn't guard resources at all. And I'm like, that's great that he doesn't, because he should if that's what you did. Yeah. Don't do that.
Yep. So
sorry, go on with your story.
that was a great aside. And honestly, just to kind of continue on that that one specific topic, and I'm sure we'll kind of come back around to it because this dog Archie he's fun. He's so fun. But the best ways to prevent resource guarding, if you are worried about it, is number one, it could just be a personality trait in your dog. And so that's something that you're always going to have. So making sure that you research the breed or what you think the breed might be, that kind of thing, and really determining the appropriate steps of preventing that. So number one is don't fuck with your dog when they're eating. And number two, make sure you have boundaries in place. Because a lot of times dogs who start resource guarding is because they get to do whatever they want. They have free reign of everything. They get too much of something. And so when someone tries to take one of those things away, they feel entitled, right? Archie, however, his mom was not one of those people that put her hand in the food bowl, and honestly had some pretty good boundaries, like she does door boundaries, for instance. He is allowed on furniture, which not necessarily a deal breaker for any dog, but like you have to kind of look at the specific picture. So some of the things that I determined both over the phone before I met with her and then what I discovered today was that he doesn't really have a consistent pattern with what he guards. So it's not just socks. It's not just food. It's not just bones. It's not just toys. It's whatever the fuck he feels like in the moment. And the way I got bit today was me undoing his tether. And part of me was like, I bet you this fucker's going to come after me for this. And he totally did. And because I was prepared, I probably mitigated it. But I also made it a very strong point to not react. Because right before that, we were trying to do some like leave it and trading and like you drop it, I treat you for dropping the thing. But he was more interested in the food and then getting frustrated that I wasn't giving him the food fast enough. So he went after my hand. I was actually wearing my wrist brace, but he like basically just put his teeth on me and he was warning me, right? Give me that. And then he tried to apply a little bit more pressure and that didn't work. So when I went to go undo his tether, because I was like, we need to switch gears. We are not going to use food for this dog. This is a terrible idea because he's entitled and because it's not one specific thing that he's guarding that he needs to learn how to not guard. It's we need to change his entire mindset, his entire outlook on life, his entire relationship with his mother. Well, when I say mother, I mean the human, right? And, today he tried to guard like water that was spilling out of like a punching bag or something that she had. And like, so she tethered him and she was like, you stay over here while I do this stuff. So she's not like one of those people that's like, oh, it's funny that he's attacking a punching bag or anything like that. And don't get me wrong, if you have to look at the sunny side of life of a really shitty situation, like your dog being a dick like that, more power to you, but understand there's work to be done and don't just like post videos and say this is so hilarious online because it's not fucking hilarious.
It's not hilarious. I hate when I see those videos, honestly, of dogs guarding stuff and people being like, haha, look how serious he is. And I'm like, why are you recording that? Like, you should put your fucking phone down and do something to mitigate that situation. Like, that's not okay that your dog feels that strongly and is that close to taking it to the next step.
Yep.
That's not okay.
Not okay. Saw a video of a Rottweiler getting his nails trimmed today, and he was the whole time was just not biting, not doing anything, but like the dog was like a foot away from his owner's face, and I was like, that is hard pass.
When that goes wrong, what's going to happen there? Who does that work out for?
Not me.
It's not a matter of if, it's when that goes wrong. Yeah. So anyway, back to this dog. So like, what? I have so many questions. What breed is it?
I knew you were going to ask that. Yeah. He's a 7-month-old Maltipoo.
Maltipoo, huh?
So he's a Maltese and a poodle. And I got to say, I've met a lot of Maltese with this kind of like holier than thou entitled personalities. I've met some Havishans and some stuff like that. Definitely a lot of Shih Tzus.
Yeah.
And I definitely have met a lot of like little things like that have that tendency. And he's 7 months old.
That's scary. I worked with a Maltese not that long ago that, luckily he only bit my shoe and I had good shoes on, but I mean, I had good shoes on and I could tell that this dog would be ripping into me if he could. Those little dogs can bite with a lot of intent. And like, you may think it's cute because they're biting your shoe and it's not hurting you. But if that was a German Shepherd, you could be dead with the amount of intent that those dogs are putting behind it. And we think it's funny because they're little fluff balls. Poor little guy, poor little dog, Mr. Archie here. So what's your plan?
So, we talked a lot before we even did anything about just tethering, tether decompression, doing it kind of more regularly, having him do it in different parts of the house. She's got like a small duplex, so it's not like her house is huge, but he's also little, so there's lots of places he could be tethered, which is really great. He's also incredibly, when I first walked into the door, she had him on leash like I told her to, and he was just like trying to get to me for like 5 minutes while we were talking. I was like, I'm ignoring this for a reason, and we're going to talk about that. And it took him about like 5 to 10 minutes just to like settle down and just like sit and just try something different, to which I pet him. And then it was like that clock that timer just started all over again. It didn't take him quite as long to settle down, only a few minutes. But I was like, this is all part of the same demanding, pushy, I have to get my way. It is my job. I need to greet this person. I need to do this. For whatever reason, he thinks he has to do everything, right? And he's not an anxious dog. That was one of the things that she was saying, like, I would like him just have less anxiety overall. But I think his anxiety is just stems from not getting his way. I think it's much more of a, he just has a really strong personality. Some people might call it alpha or whatever, but just he, for whatever reason, he feels like he has to do everything. So we talked about tethering. We talked about what she does do, what kind of boundaries she has. Is he allowed on furniture? Not letting him on furniture anymore. She did talk about, like, she's been telling him to get down a lot and just at random, which is really good.
Has she been bit by him?
Yes, but not even since calling me, but like by the time she called me, it had gotten to a point where he's not necessarily breaking skin, but like just putting teeth on her. So it's somewhat improving, or at least it seems like it's improving. I don't think it is. I think she's listening to him, so he's backing off.
Is that okay? So that's what I was going to ask. Like, so there was a point when it was worse for her and he was breaking skin. So what has she changed that has now gotten it to be quote unquote better?
Well, before it was definitely more like laissez-faire of like, oh, let me just grab this bone real quick. Let me just clean up and not do things more mindlessly. Just because you have a puppy, you wouldn't expect it to do that. And so when he started displaying those behaviors, she would do things. She started tethering him. She started being more mindful of like what's out and when he has access to things, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So when I tried to do like trade treats or try to work on drop it. I didn't want to trade treats. I don't really like that concept of like, I'll give you this if you give me your bone, because that just further adds entitlement into the picture for the dog. So it was really more like I was trying to work on teaching him drop it with like a toy, and then like this little bone that he had that's like a hoof that he's kind of cares-ish about. And what I noticed was he got very frustrated with me very quickly that I wasn't giving him the food, because I was like, well, you need to play with this. I want you to play with this and put this in your mouth so then I can give you this. And he was just like, no, I want that. And would like jump on me, pull towards me. He was tethered, so I was sitting just out of reach, all that kind of stuff. And then when I was already holding his bone for a while, trying to like give it back to him. And he was like, you know what? Fuck you, and tried to go for my hand. Which I just sat there and was like, you're not doing shit. Anyways.
He was tired of your monkey games.
Yes.
He's like, bitch, just give me the food.
Mm-hmm. So after he went after my hand,
I'm just picturing this frustrated little fluff ball that's like, I want the food. I want the food. I want the food. Fuck you, lady. I want the food.
So to paint a picture, he's like this really pretty caramel color, and he's got short little legs, and he's curly haired. So It's like curly and floofy, and he looks super soft, and he is super soft. So like just like poodle type hair almost, but like caramel colored, and not as like dense, more sparse. Very pretty little boy. So yeah, as soon as that happened, I was like, we're not using food for anything anymore. We're not. Nope. So what we did was environmental agility type stuff. So purposely getting wrapped around mailboxes and having him come back towards us, having him climb on, her neighborhood's really hilly because she lives on the east side. So like, there's like random, I guess, posts that are meant to prevent like, the ground from running off during a rainstorm and that kind of stuff, and kind of keep some structure in the hills. So jumping onto stuff like that, boulders, that kind of stuff. Fixing his walking by just like fix. And then we also did like a little bit of follow the dog just for funsies and some scent work stuff. And I was like, this is what your walks are going to be comprised of. Your walks are work. They're no longer, and your walks are about connecting. You sometimes do things he wants to do, and he sometimes does things you want to do. And you're always connected together at the leash. We upped the ante on her door boundaries, and that it's because before she would do what most people do, where either she would just have him sit or just wait for him to be calm and not moving around and then open the door and just walk out. So now it's no, you wait for him to be calm, start to open the door, slam the door. If he tries to walk through, open, slam,
but not on him.
But not on him. No, she was holding it on a short leash, and I was like, you need to feel the pressure. You need to start becoming sensitive to that leash pressure, right? And so it's just open it like, not even a foot, close it, open it, not even a foot, get to the point where like opening it a foot isn't a big deal. Now open it halfway, that kind of stuff. And as soon as he looked at her, I was like, okay, now go. And she was like, he's never looked at me before at the door. And I was like, that's a problem that he's never looked at you before. So I was like, this is important. And then later she was like, okay, so maybe like, we can do that like a couple times a day. I'm like, no, you're doing that every time you're going outside. Unless he has like explosive diarrhea and he's sick, you're doing that every day. I don't care how bad he has to pee in the morning or how much of a rush you are in. You have to make time for this because this is important, because he's just going to walk all over you again. He's going to continue to walk all over us.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, that sounds like an awesome plan. Definitely what I would have suggested. Because, you got to get that guy realizing his human is relevant and worth something. Because right now, she's just in the way.
Yep.
He is an entitled little dude for whatever reasons, whether it be genetics or drives or what have you. But, he's got to reset his whole understanding of how the world works.
Yes. Exactly. And what's really interesting too is like, you can kind of, when you look at him pulling and like trying to get to you, it's very different from a dog who's just like dumb, happy-go-lucky, like, yeah, people are here.
Is it that frazzled, frantic, like I must get to you type of thing?
It is. And it's also not as anxious as that though. It was targeted. It was like, I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. This button isn't working. Fucking try harder. He has a lot of commitment, and it was very specific. He wasn't like, get tangled, wrapped around the mom, do this. It wasn't just like energy, like diffusing off of him. It was literally like, I have a purpose and I'm going to succeed. So she was like, I have a friend coming over tonight. What should I do? And I was like, you're going to tether him and you're going to tell your person to completely ignore him. Normally what I would say is like, wait till they calm down, like 15 minutes in, set a timer for 15 minutes and then go say hi. Cause it helps kind of take the guesswork out of it. Cause sometimes people tend to release their dog too soon because they see a brief moment of calm, not like a truly calm mind state. Which is another thing we talked about a lot, is like, we need to change his mindset for everything. Nothing in life is free going forward. And I sent her some articles. We need a muzzle train. We need to change his mindset before he does anything that he thinks he wants to do. Right. And get him to start doing more things that we want him to do within reason. Right.
Right.
And so I told her, she was like, so I could like, let him off the tether for a little bit. I was like, I wouldn't. He needs to learn that nobody is there for him. Not a single person is there for him. He's 7 months old and he has the biggest personality of a little dog that I have seen in a while. And like, there's no reason. They're there for you. They're your guest. He has nothing to do with them. Like, if he was crate trained, I would say put him in a crate or tether him, and that would be the end of it. And he doesn't get to interact because right now he thinks that he has to interact. He thinks he's the leader of the group. And like, we actually had that conversation too about like the alpha. I was like, most people would probably say like he's an alpha dog because he has to run everything.
So
he's aggressive.
Forward and so aggressive and so just like in your business. That's obviously the alpha, right?
No, he's a bully.
Yeah.
He's a bully. He's an asshole is what he is.
Most people call their asshole dogs alpha dogs, and it's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it that you always say, Courtney? Like an alpha, all they have to do is look at you.
Yeah, like that's the role of an alpha dog. They just look at you and you stop. You're like, oh, what do I need to be doing different? And they don't have to run over there and like start a fight with you over
or yell
about it. They will if they have to, but they're going to keep it to a minimum. That's more of like a beta role, is to go and be the enforcer.
Yep. And I told her, I was like, that's a common misconception for, she wasn't using that terminology necessarily, but I was like, I want you to understand the mindset that we're going for. And like, you're irrelevant and we need to make you relevant in any way, shape, form, or fashion. What's really funny is we talked about hand feeding as well as another means of like relationship building. And she was like, you know what? When he was a little bit younger, that was the only way I could feed him for a little while. And I was like, oh, motherfucker, you're going to ruin hand feeding for me too, Archie? Come on, man.
But what? Would he like not eat or what?
He just wouldn't eat. He was just like, no, I don't want to eat out of the bowl. I like it when you hand it to me instead. Because she was doing a lot of training and teaching him tricks. And so I think he liked that interaction, that mindset, all that kind of stuff. And
one thing I was going to mention in my opinion of dog training. So like, I think the route you've chosen to go is the right route to go for now. But I think later in these people's lives, working on, earning CGC titles, things like that could be an avenue they go, because like, if that dog truly does have that much confident energy, then he does need to work. I know he's a little fluff ball and he's adorable, but he's still a dog and dogs need to work. Like, everything you're describing in this dog, if you replaced Maltese with Mal Puppy, someone would be drooling, right? Yeah. They'd be like, oh, he's that possessive of stuff. Yeah, let me have him, and they would love it. So, to each their own. And so the dogs, they don't mean to end up like this. It's just natural.
Yeah. And she didn't necessarily create this monster. Like, there's probably things she could have done sooner to prevent some of this, but like a 7-month-old puppy who's been displaying resource guarding tendencies for a couple of months already, like that's genetics at that point or something, right?
Yeah,
or
something.
His litter, wherever he came from, food may have been too scarce and he learned how to do that with his litter mates, and now it's just transferred over, whatever, right? Whether it's genetics or very early upbringing type stuff, it's not her fault. It doesn't seem like it's her fault at all.
No, and I mean, she's calling a dog trainer. She's doing something about it. Unfortunately, there's a majority of people that would wait until this dog was like 5 years old to call a dog trainer.
Because they're pregnant now or something
like that. Or, their sister moved in with her kids and it's like, oh, there's kids in the house now and he's guarding the couch and he bit the little girl in the face, but he's a cute little fluff ball. Like, why is he doing this? And we have to go all the way back to, oh, he's been doing this since you got him at 8 weeks old?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Why'd
you wait 8 years times 52 weeks? Why'd you wait that many weeks?
Right. Oh, Lord.
By the way, that's how I always kind of like help people understand timeline stuff, but I stopped trying to do the math in my head. Is like, I just do 52 weeks in a year times however many years they are, and I let them figure out the math themselves.
Think about how many years you waited.
Yeah. Yeah. So, her goals, like whenever she filled out my, online form were pretty simple. She was like, I just want him to have like less anxiety and stress. And like, I want him to be a safe dog. Like, I don't understand why he's acting this way. And so, I think she's going to do a lot of good things to put in the work and stuff like that. And she didn't call me because she's suddenly pregnant. She's just like, this problem isn't going away.
Yeah.
Help.
And clearly
right?
There's something going on with this dog and he needs help. Yeah. So, I'm excited to hear the updates of this guy, and his progress and how their relationship shifts and what they're able to do together. Cause honestly, sometimes it's dogs like these that make you a really good owner. Like these dogs will push you, and then you just, find this whole new love for your dog and life with your dog. And it can be really fun. So I wish that for her.
Would you, let me ask you this, Courtney, because I the thought crossed my mind like halfway through the lesson, and I was like, I wonder if I should board and train this dog. Because part of me is like, well, I could, right? Like, you could always board and train a dog. There's always a benefit to that. Well, right. I say always, I shouldn't use absolutes, but at least for the dog, yes.
There's always a benefit. Sometimes if it's just the owners that need the work, it's like, sorry, dog, you're just going to have to hang in there through this.
Right. But, like what do you think would be a reasonable timeline for a board and train for this dog? And like, what would be your plan of action? Right now, my plan is we're going to do lessons and we're going to work through this stuff together. But
yeah, I would say my plan of action for her with the lesson you did would be very similar to what you described. Obviously, I do agree that a board and train can help any dog. As far as how long of one for a dog like this, I'd say 4 weeks at a minimum and see where we are then. See how much of a dent I've made in things or how much of an improvement I've made in things. And if I'm comfortable handing it back over to the owner then, or if, just see, because like there's no timeline for dogs. So, when the dog, let's say it does the board and train, when it first comes in, there's going to be an adjustment period where literally nothing is free, and that freaks that dog out because he's like, no. I've clearly been taken into an alien spaceship in an alternate reality. This is not real.
Right.
And so a certain amount of time has to pass for the dog before they start to go, okay, maybe this is real life. How do I get through it? And that varies from dog to dog.
Yeah.
So it could take that little guy a couple days or a couple weeks.
Right.
And then to start affecting true change, that just depends. I would hope, since he was a younger dog, that it could happen quicker than if he was, like I said, a 5 or an 8-year-old dog. So you might be able to get away with just 4 weeks. Whereas if he were a 5 or 8-year-old dog, I'd say you're looking at like 3 months or more.
He's a serious dog, and that's the part that I'm like,
and so that's what keeps me on the fence, is because I haven't seen him firsthand.
Right.
And as you know, when you work with dogs, there are so many nuances in their body language, in their movements, in their response to your movements, that tells you how serious this intent is and how much change can I affect how quickly. And that, you only get that with experience. So I would have to meet him to give my firm answer on how long I think or what exactly my route would be. But I'd say at minimum 4 weeks, and then we'd see where we were. I would make absolutely zero like guarantees. I mean, I never make guarantees, but it would basically be like, I'm going to try to be a human your dog can trust.
Yeah.
That is my goal.
Yep.
And once I learn how to do that from your dog in the way they would like to build trust, then I'm going to teach you exactly how to build the trust that I just built with your dog.
Yep. I think, like, if she can afford it, I think I would probably say like several weeks of lessons and like getting a muzzle condition, getting her to start implementing Nothing in Life is Free, and just kind of them two going on that journey together and starting that process, and then doing a board and train, and then continuing on, because like the whole purpose would be when he plateaus, because that's inevitably going to happen.
Yes.
Because she's not a dog trainer. And on top of that, because dogs always plateau. We all plateau. You all, no matter what skill that you're learning, there's always some sort of learning curve. And you're like, okay, I kind of get it now. And then you get stuck somewhere, or you get stuck on something, or at a skill cap or whatever. And I think that would be kind of the ultimate thing, is like, make sure it isn't a total shell shock, because I don't think that would be beneficial. If I just scooped him up and took him home right now,
right?
I don't think he would have
a longer time for that decompression. Absolutely. But I agree. If she starts to introduce these ideas and he starts to realize that life can be like this, and you just become a second person who is like that with more consistency and a little bit more added stress, he is probably going to adapt quicker and learn faster.
Yep. So, Tales of Archie, everybody. Tales of Archie. Oh, shit. Look at that. Little raspberry he gave me. Oh, man. I honestly, like, I put on lotion before the lesson, and I'm really glad I did, because I think he would have had better grip.
Nice.
I was already like in the process of like standing up and moving away, but he's a serious little dog. He reminds me a lot of B-Town in that aspect of like, there's not like a lot of thought or reason. Like he's not a murderer, right? Like he's not out to kill me, but
he extremely disagrees with your decision to be a human in this current space.
Yes. exactly. That's what
and he's telling you that.
Yep.
In the most severe way he knows how.
Yep.
That was the most severe correction he can give you in that moment.
Yep. And
he's
he
like,
feels the need
her to
correct.
know. I need her to know she has crossed the fucking line.
You know what this reminds me of, the way he's acting? This reminds me of like people spanking their dogs for stupid shit. And like that's what Archie's doing. He's spanking me with his teeth, being like, I don't like that you didn't give me that food. Bop, bop. Am I gonna stop? Fuck no. I'm gonna put a muzzle on you.
Yeah, so he's trying to create a relationship with you where he's an asshole and you don't get to be one back.
Yep. Because he's only gonna escalate if I continue the assholery. So you see how that doesn't work, everybody? You see how that's a
bad
fucked up
relationship. If you're in one of those relationships, get out or seek professional help.
Out. Yes. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening. We super appreciate it. I hope you enjoy my tales of getting bit today and the Ballad of Archie. I hope I have positive updates in the future. Who knows? Maybe he'll turn around with a little bit. Maybe we'll go a long way. We'll see. As always, if you guys want to support us and you don't have the monetary funds to do it, certainly writing us a review, whatever platform you listen to us on, will be super helpful.
We got a 5-star review recently.
I know. It was from
I love
Justin B. It was awesome.
I love it. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah,
we love that shit.
It was a very like honest and like nice, like candid review. I didn't ask him to do it, so it was awesome. So thanks, Justin. But yeah, you can definitely also go support us on Patreon. Or go to patreon.com/Super Serious Dog Podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.